Whack-a-con bobblehead doll? Check. Diesel incense? Check. Cool. Look at me. I'm a taxi cab driver. Go down the street, scope potential riders. Hey, girl.
What is going on, everyone? Welcome to another fantastic Tuesday here on the Exploding Dice channel. My name is Askren. I am your host and dungeon master, though I'm not your dungeon master today, but I am your host. And I am joined by my friend on that side. Got it in one. Mr. Scott. How's it going, man? How you doing?
I'm doing awesome. Thank you very much. You know what's funny is I just realized I think you and I have the same mic.
This is a black blue Yeti.
Yeah. We have the same. I literally just realized.
Everyone has this mic.
It's a great mic. So I love it. So not doing sponsorships here. Just realized. So.
But hey, Blue Mics, if you're listening and you would like to sponsor the show, you can email me.
Blue Yeti. Yes. Kind of like plot Yeti.
They sponsor Geek and Sundry and soon hopefully us, because we provide that kind of service. Also, I mean, any other companies that want to sponsor, like beer, food, whatever. I mean, whatever you sell, I am happy to plug your company if you will just give me free stuff. I will sell out and not give a single fuck.
I'm just saying, Victoria's Secrets. If you want your stuff my way, I'll sport whatever.
I'll rock it. It'll be under my clothes, so you won't know. But
nope. I will sport it. You know what I mean? I'll get up and do a turnaround for you. No questions. Let's go, BS.
Oh man, what is going on? Ooh, Pringles sponsorship would be amazing. I agree, because you know what happens is once you pop, it is physically incapable of stopping.
You mentioned Pringles. It's funny because I feel as though like one of the hardest things since I started doing streaming is all snack foods are crunchy. I mean, like almost every snack food is good. And I'm like, oh, I'm gonna go get a snack. Like, well, I'm on a break, and I come back and I'm like, damn it, I can't even have my snack.
That's why.
Like, oh, carrots and hummus. Oh.
That's when you briefly switch to social eating and then switch back. Because it's good on that category, but any other category, it's not. What's going on, Firebringer? How you doing, man? How you guys doing? Thank you for stopping by. We are going to we're gonna dive into we have a really good show for you tonight. We're gonna get into some interesting topics, and as always, remember the second half of the show we are going to be taking your questions and topics, anything you guys want to talk about, no matter how weirdly personal it gets. That is a promise. But first, before we do that, why don't we, first of all, if anyone's in chat, just if anyone is in chat, let me know how the audio is, because I never know if it's way too loud or if it's not. Just let me know how the music is, how the mics are, all that stuff. So first up, we have some announcements to get through. Not many, but if you guys have not been paying attention, we had a big giveaway that was going on through April. We like to do a big monthly giveaway here, and for April it was the Yawning Portal giveaway. So we got a copy of the Yawning Portal book, which is somewhere around here. It's right over on my table over there. I also have some dice for you, a player's handbook, and this really nifty Wormwood Gaming dice vault to go along with it. So lots of cool stuff and that's going to be given away tonight. We already did the month of the giveaway. We got all our entries in, and we are going to be announcing our winner at the end of the show. So stick around for that, guys. If you entered, you definitely want to be here for it. And also, I might be dropping some hints about the next giveaway, which I'm not going to let you see the label, but I can tell you it's in this box, and it's very heavy. So the next giveaway... How much does it weigh? I don't know. It's like 6 pounds, maybe.
All right.
It's a hefty old thing. So yeah, we're gonna be getting into that. Let me just lower the music just a bit.
When I was a kid, my parents would do stuff like around Christmas or whatever, where they would take like a huge box, and there's just like rocks in it, and like weigh it down
with rocks and stuff.
Yeah, it'd be like a huge box. It'd be like a gift card buried in a bunch of crap. I don't know, 6 pounds. It sounds like a brick is in there.
Oh man, how's it going, Dragon Gem? How's it going, Rex Royal? So yeah, that is that giveaway stuff, and I don't think I have too much more on the announcement department. We don't have a whole lot going on right now, except we have some new stuff cooking in the background, which I cannot quite tell you about. But if I think of anything, we'll tell you at the end. But that's enough about channel stuff. Oh, I do actually want to announce, I want to thank everyone who came out this past weekend for Dale could be turned up a bit. I will work on that. I want to thank everyone who came out for Tabletop Day. We had this really awesome marathon stream with all the other people in our stream team. That was Saving Throw Show, Late Night Tabletop, and Twist Gaming. And we did a really, really cool connected series of one-shots, all with the same villain, and all for the Relics of Nova Vita. All of the money that you guys raised, we raised something like $300 here on this channel, a total of like $950 between all the channels. And thank you for Twitch for putting that on the front page. You guys are amazing, and your support was awesome. So big thumbs up to you guys, and a big Edie cheers to all of you. I think that's pretty much it as far as announcements go. So I want to stop talking about me, and I want to start talking about this man, because he's who we're here for. So so Scott, I guess why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself? Like how'd you end up here in specifically?
Here?
Like right here.
Right here? I actually tweeted you or DM'd you and said, hey, were you at I saw that you had tweeted out about being at PAX East, and I was like, oh, I didn't know you were there. I totally would have bothered you, because I know that you had met up with Mathis before and whatnot on this show before. Mathis being, some douche.
Yes, some asshole, whatever.
Yeah, it's actually his birthday today, so if we could all in unison just send some feelings out to Mathis and just say fuck Mathis.
Just hashtag fuck Mike.
Yeah, exactly. So, but yeah, no, I actually saw that you were at PAX East, and I was like, oh, I totally would have connected with you, but I missed out, and then we just kind of like back and forth for a while, and
yeah,
here we go.
So who are you, like, in the scheme of the world? Like, what do you get up to? What's your thing? What makes you awesome?
I mean,
So all right, no, you're right. That was a dumb question.
Yeah, no. So let's see. I am long-term old friends with. I am old friends with Mathis Games, and he's been on YouTube and doing stuff like that for years and years and years. So he approached me at one point in time. Was like, "Hey, let's do this like streaming of like Dungeons & Dragons and stuff." This is like a little over 2 years ago now, and I was like, "Listen, I don't even like it when cell phones come to my table. You want me to do this shit online? No way." I was like, no way. I was like, we do this. We play old school. Go away. And he asked me probably twice. I shot him down both times. And then finally, there was one day where I knew he was coming over to hang out, and he got to my house like before I got home from work. He was hanging out with my wife, and I came in, and literally the first thing that my wife says to me when I walk in the door is, and I was like, "Hey, Mike, hey, whatever." She was like, "You need to go in the other room and have a conversation with Mike," and the answer is yes. And I was like, yes, ma'am. And so I go in the other room. He tells me about what we're doing and that I have to do it and come up with names and stories and stuff. And I was like, oh, okay, I'll learn the internet. And if you follow me at all, one of the things that you'll figure out in the past like 6-7 months that I've been doing this, I am so removed, or was so removed from internet culture. Like, I know what a brony is and stuff like that, but but there's some things where I'm just like, I don't get this. Like, people will like throw memes out there. I'm like, I don't know what that means. And I just get ragged on so hard. And so it's been a fast, hard learning of internet culture, because I've just avoided it and oh man,
dude,
it's out there.
You and me both, because before I started, I had a Twitter that I made in 2007, and I think I tweeted one thing out, and I realized this was the dumbest thing ever, and then I never used it again until last year when I started streaming, and I was just like, I guess I need to tell people that we're on the internet now. But I still don't understand when the kids, all the young kids are talking with their lingo, and I don't understand any of it.
I mean, I luckily worked, I managed to, before I was doing this, and I ended up leaving my old career for my new one. I was lucky enough that I managed a restaurant for 13 years. So I was always around them young kids. So I was able to come up with like lingo. It was just like, I sound like such an old man right now. I'm only 31. But it was literally just the internet. God, it was so different. But no, it's all good now. It's all good. Somebody had mentioned that I have the shield back there. Fun fact, stolen. legit stolen. So
From
I,
who?
I went. Somebody that I know.
Oh, okay.
I went into their home and distracted them with my daughter, and because I got a little one, distracted them with my daughter, and then I went and took the shield and took it out. And then when we left, they didn't realize it, and they have since realized it on the stream, and they're like, "What the?" It's awesome.
I'm trying to find it here because I don't know where it went. I have I can't find it. It's somewhere around here. I have a Twitch beanie that I stole from Not So Speedruns at PAX East because he got the last one and I liked it so much. And I did the same thing. Is like I wore it because I didn't have a hat, and then I just left with it. I never gave it back.
Ouch.
Stealing from friends, always steal, because they can't get mad at you.
Well, I mean, they can. The only thing is, like, my goal is to now steal the Master Sword. And put
Does he also have it?
Yes. They also have the Master Sword and a few other things. So, my goal is to steal a few more things from them before they can come and take them back. So we'll see.
Is it? You think it's gonna be like now they've ramped up security, so now you're gonna have to do like a mission to?
No. Listen, I sleep like 4 hours a night, and they're those people that sleep like 10 plus hours a day. So there's easily a 6 hour gap where I'm just like in and out problems.
Rose says, watching the Grandfathers Club. Man, that's just mean.
Yeah,
that's just mean. Oh man. So yeah, what I guess we were talking a little bit about it, but you kind of DM a whole bunch of stuff. Actually, I know some of the shows you DM right now, but what all are you getting up to? Like,
yeah, definitely. So let's see. I got pulled into this, like I said, with Mathis Games. Him and I run Lost Initiative, which it's what twitch.tv/Lost Initiative show. It's him and I. We have an awesome cast. We do it on Wednesdays and Thursday nights right now at 9 p.m. Eastern time. But then I also am a cast member, so I play in, which is so weird being a player, not a DM.
Oh yeah.
For Roll For It. That's twitch.tv/Roll For It, where Splattercat is the one that runs that one. He's the DM for that, and we're having a ton of fun. I play this warlock that his demon talks to him, and he thinks it's a god, and so like he's a paladin, but he's really a fighter warlock. It's great. Causes lots of ripples in the party. And then on Friday nights, even after that show's over, I then run another one. I DM another one on my channel. So I'm actually part of 4 campaigns right now, 3 days in a row, 4 campaigns. It's a lot of fun, and honestly, I'm just like, it's not enough.
Yeah.
I almost feel like
there's always more stuff. Always more stuff you want to run. Always more stuff you want to try. I'm one of those guys who is like, I run so many shows, and I'm sitting there thinking like, yeah, but I'm not doing a pirate game right now.
Right?
You know?
Right? Yeah. So I got a question. Before you started streaming stuff, before you started all this, how long were your sessions? Your weekly, bi-weekly, whatever?
So that's actually interesting, and I've talked about this a few times on the show with a few different people. I've talked about how streaming really changed the way I DM'd, because before, for example, I played. I think my sessions before I started streaming were probably about 4 to 5 hours. Mm-hmm. The longest I ever played in one session was a 7-hour introduction session, and that was just because I was playing an adventure path, and it had this intro module where the players kind of meet and they're given a task, and then they go to this place. It's a building, but it's essentially a dungeon, and you go to the bottom and you kill the boss guy, right? The one that you were given the name of. And because we just kind of had momentum and no one wanted to stop like in the middle of the dungeon, we just kept going, and it ended up taking like 7.5 hours. But generally it was like 5 hours or so, usually 4, closer to 5. And these days it's like I have a hard limit of like 3 hours per session. Right, because 3 hours, and I didn't want to before I started. Actually, another stream got me indoctrinated to that. I was doing like 4-hour sessions with a break in the middle. But now it's like 3 hours. You got your intro hook, you got your action, you got your rising, your big set piece, and your falling action and your cliffhanger. Cram that into one session, and that's how I think of it these days. And that's sort of what streaming forced me into.
So it's funny you say streaming forced you into. It was a life-shattering experience going from, I don't like cell phones at my table because they're too distracting, focus on the damn game, to doing everything. I have 3 monitors in front of me right now. You know what I mean? So to doing it with all the interwebs and reading comments and whatever. But my average stream a minimum session before playing. My minimum session was 7 hours. We usually played for 11 to 13 hour sessions once a week. My longest one was probably about 27 hours. We used to do like birthday sessions that were 24-hour sessions. So like we would do that stuff all the time. So going down, taking like a game that was on average, let's say 9-hour sessions, and turning it into 4-hour ones. I'm just like, I need more D&D, which is why like we go ahead.
No. What I was gonna say is, and this is why I love the craft of DMing. Is because I don't know. You said you're a web designer. I don't know if you had any art training or have ever taken a figure drawing class or anything like that. I was raised, I schooled as an illustrator, and when you're in figure drawing, you do this thing called gestures, right? Which is where you get a pose and you draw it as quick as you can. And usually the instructor will give you a time limit. It could be anywhere from like a minute down to like 5 seconds. And usually what'll happen is they'll start with a long amount of time and they'll keep getting shorter and shorter. So it's like, okay, this time you do 30 seconds. This time you do 10 seconds. This time you do 5 seconds. And you try and 5 seconds per pose, just bang it out, right? And then if you do that, once you go back to having a minute to draw, it feels like an eternity, right? So if I sit down to a game that is not on stream, it feels like I have so much time. Like I'm like, I don't know what to do with all this because the pace, I'm so used to like a pace that's really meant to keep things moving and keep people engaged, like locked in, which is sort of what you have to do. I mean, that's the way I see it again.
I don't know. Let's see. Jesse Krendor, Maggie Mathis, and I have sat around and talked about Pop-Tarts for about 40 minutes straight. I think on 2 different streams. So you say pace, I say pastry. So.
See, that's the thing, and like I stopped myself there because when I said that's something you have to do, that's something I feel I have to do. I know a lot of streamers are fine. Like they're fine letting letting things die down to a lull on, but like for me it's like no I can't let myself do that. So again, it may just be a psychosis or something like that. I don't know.
No, I was so again. I mean, obviously I'm joking around, but well, except that did actually happen.
No, I get that.
But no, I completely get it. So you're talking about a few different things here. So one, the shrinking of the timeline is just like so different, and it's funny because I actually, since I started doing this, because working and doing this, and I haven't had time to run an IRL campaign in a while. So it's like if I got that opportunity, I imagine what you just said there. Like, I have all this time. If I ever actually found the time to do it, right? But it's a few different things, you know what I mean? So the tone of how it is. So when you're playing D&D, just you amongst your friends, you have like certain types of stories, whatever that you might do. And when we do it from when we were doing it just ourselves to doing it on stream, it's almost the same. I want to say like the way that the story has changed is because the way that you narrate things needs to change slightly, because you're no longer speaking to the people that are directly engaged into the story. You're also telling a story for other people that are not directly engaged into it, that are pulling their entertainment from it, and to only engage through like say chat and whatnot. Like we actually just recently named an NPC after somebody who subbed while I was trying to think of an NPC's name, which was hilarious. I think it was Axel the Slayer or something like that. So anyways, so because that changes the tone slightly, again, there's like all these like little nuanced changes going from notes back to tech, going from long format to short, going from type of storytelling to different type. My DMing style, if we were playing for a 13-hour session, I would stand for about 11 of those hours. I would never sit. Doing a full 4 hours sitting, again, it's a change, but honestly, and I imagine you felt the same way. I feel as though it's made you better. Like, it's a challenge that you never experienced before.
It is definitely an exercise, and it definitely, again, like before I really started DMing campaigns in this format, I was doing one-shots for another channel, right? And it was the same thing as one-shots in this, because they were usually part of like a 24-hour stream. So basically the brief, the design brief essentially that I was being handed was, here's a 3-hour time slot, right? You have a hard 3 hours that you can't go over because you got other shows waiting for you, right? You have a cast that you probably have not met before, and you need to get in and you need to be engaging, right? It needs to be funny, it needs to be interesting, it needs to move, and
that's like Adventure League at a if you go to like a
sort of
Adventure League. It's like, all right, you never met each other, you don't know anything, you get 3 hours, let's get this done.
Yeah, and it's even tougher. Like doing a one shot like that is even tougher than doing a normal campaign session, because in a one shot you only have that 3 hours, and I started sort of budgeting time in my head. Okay, I know it's gonna take 10 minutes to do character introductions and to lay the plot hook, right? It's gonna take probably 30 minutes for the party to really pick up momentum. And I do that a lot. I budget time in the session in my head. Okay, combat's gonna take 1 hour, so that's 1 hour off that I'm cut off the session. And you learn to kind of budget your time there. But it's in a one shot, it's like, okay, you have 3 hours. Get your intro, get your rising action, your plot hook, get at least one combat, get some really big twist in, and then end on a really big conclusion, right? Do that all in like 2.5 hours, essentially. And if you can, I feel like if you can do that, it's sort of like boot camp for DMing, because it teaches you to think on the fly, to adjust yourself. Like, okay, is this combat gonna go too long? How can I clip out of this combat like right now? How can I bring up a cliffhanger out of nowhere? Or how can I end with a really crazy thing that because the party took it in a wild, weird direction. And it's, for me, I kind of look at it like that. It's almost like exercising your DM skills in a really confined and really intense space, and I think you come out of it with with these skills of just blasting things out on the fly and adjusting. It's like, I don't really use them all the time in a session, but as a DM, you probably know there's so many times when you'll need to, because the party either didn't get as far as you thought or got farther than you thought they would, and you need to like whip out a cliffhanger for the end of the session, right? Because I don't know if I don't know how you generally do it. For me, every session has to end on a cliffhanger. Huh. If it doesn't, there's gonna be no tension for the next one, I think.
I don't know. The biggest cliffhanger session I did recently was it was literally the end of a session. It was like our time slot, it was already over by a couple minutes, which I don't care. I go over all the time.
Yeah.
But they had just thrown grenades in the air. It was just for Fantasy Flight Games Star Wars. So we called it Star Wars: The Forgotten. Grenades had thrown in the air. And just the rolls that they had made were like, you failed, but you had a triumph. And they're just like, the rolls are just ridiculous.
Yeah.
And instead of describing what happened, I was like, we're going to end here, cliffhanger. And with that epic cliffhanger that we had, because of one circumstance or another, we didn't play for 6 weeks, and then we did a soft reboot of the game that took place months after those grenades were tossed. It was a lot of fun. But no, I do not intentionally try to leave cliffhangers, though I completely understand trying to do that, because once again, you're not doing just a D&D session anymore. You also put it on a production, which is, you need it to be fun, you need to be excited. It's like that DBZ kind of format where you're like, next time on, you know what I mean? But one of the things I do is I don't write my sessions out, so...
Neither do I, not anymore, yeah.
Yeah, I started this, when I started DMing years ago... let's see, I don't know, when I first started DMing, I was 14, we'll say 14. So when I started DMing like 17 years ago, I would always have a dungeon magazine or like buy a quest, and I would follow those. And then it evolved into not entirely following them because the party never did anyways. Then that followed to, I would leaf through them to steal story ideas, but not actually use them. Then it just turned into, I'll just make up my own stories. But then once again, the party wasn't following it. So eventually it turned into, my format is, I come up with like a bullet point list. And so the way that the bullet points work is, so let's say, for instance, in my Wednesday game, Sam is playing a character named Rye. I know what I want to happen with Rye's story over the course of over a year of this campaign going on, because we intend for this campaign to be very long form. So when I wrote this out, I literally wrote down about 20 bullet points of things that I need to happen. When they're happening, where they're happening, how they're happening, why they're happening, all of that stuff is literally made up on the fly at the point in time that I need it to. And they're not even necessarily in that order. So it's just things that I know that are going to be important for the story. And so I make it up as I go. And so very much my entire campaign is free form. Now, when you're generating maps and stuff like that in Roll20, that takes a considerable amount of time. But I'll put maps out in advance and not have it for a specific combat. Be like, well, this is the map I'm going to have, and then I need it.
What? Yeah, I mean, I think I said this when Mike Shea was on the show forever ago. His I don't know if you've ever read it, but his book, The Lazy Dungeon Master, was something that I kind of sneered at early on in my career because I was a huge, heavy prep DM, right? Like I needed to prep everything in order to feel confident and comfortable.
Too lazy.
No, but that's the thing is, I also am very lazy. And as I was adding, but I felt like I needed to because I was afraid of disappointing.
Yep,
you know,
of course.
And as I got more comfortable in in the DM's chair, I got more comfortable in my own ability to improv and my own ability to kind of maintain a pace and keep things working. I very rarely do any session prep these days. For example, my Writhing Moon campaign. Writhing Moon is a really interesting experiment for me because I've never really been a homebrew DM. Like I've never been homebrewing worlds and sort of doing that stuff. Just because it never really interested me that much. But this game, I decided I wanted a horror game that was sort of like an answer to Curse of Strahd. I didn't want to run Curse of Strahd because everyone had done it at that point, and I didn't want to like retread that ground. So I was gonna write my own horror world, and I didn't write it in prose. I wrote it in a diagram. It's like a chart that lists all the districts of the city and what connects to what, and the people that affect which people affect what. And so it's a chart that only I can understand. But basically what it means is I understand the world. I understand the NPCs. I understand who they are and where they're coming from and their motivations and this and that, so that I don't necessarily need to write because I feel confident enough in my ability to like understand the world enough that it can react to what needs to happen. Luckily, it is a very heavy like mystery game where a huge theme of like dreams and horror and nothing is exactly clear. So I get a lot of leeway to fuck things up and not really, make things as well put together as possible. But it's a really interesting experiment for me because I've never done like this. It's completely new to me. I'm used to coming from a place of planned notes and encounters, and these are the beats that I want to hit during the session, and that.
Well, so what's your favorite pre-crafted world or worlds?
I see that's a really interesting question because I like the Forgotten Realms, but I am actually very few people are with me on this. I'm a really big fan of Pathfinder's Golarion setting, not as a whole setting, but really? I like the chunks of it. I like the chunks as individual settings.
Too jarring?
No, that's the thing is, as a whole setting, it's theme park and you got weird tonal mishmash. But if you choose,
yeah, exactly. You're saying right now, if you choose like a 3-country region and just focus on those 3 it works great.
Just if you take just one and treat that as the whole game world, you get a really flavorful like world, like a really flavorful kind of setting that comes with tons of lore and stuff that you can reference if you need it, tons of cool stuff that's already built there, and they're all flavored differently, so you can do just about any kind of campaign you want, which I really like that. I think there's a lot of cool stuff being written there. You're right, as a whole, I know it's a kitchen sink stupid thing, but I like
it is literally it's everything.
Yeah, we call it a theme park, yeah.
Because when I switched over to Pathfinder, just to, I guess 4E was just garbage, and I needed to do something different. Because 3.5 I've been doing for God how many years. So when I switched over to Pathfinder just to try something different, and I was like, oh, this is its own nifty world, and then I at first I was like, oh, the core ones that like everybody focused on, I enjoyed them, but then you start reading and you're like,
yeah.
So I approach Golarion exactly the way that you're saying you did, whereas you choose a small. I would do like a 2 country, but a small area and just kind of like attack it.
It's interesting if you treat like if you take any country in there, right? You can easily address the rest of the world, like say those other places exist, but if you treat them as farther away than they actually are, it tends to make a little bit more sense.
Absolutely, very much like a FMA, like you have to cross through deserts or go across ridiculous like barren.
Because it otherwise it makes very little sense that these two culturally different places would like butt right up against each other, and there'd be like no exchange along the borders. So but if you like, for example, if you start a campaign in like in Sandpoint, which is the place where everyone starts,
of course,
you can talk about like Ustalav or the Viking country, I don't remember, land of the Linorm Kings or whatever. You can talk about those countries, but if you talk about them as if they're fucking really far away and really exotic and foreign, then the players won't be like, hey, let's just go next door and go there, you know?
So then what about Eberron? Do you have a lot of experience at Eberron or no?
I know enough about, like, I know a bunch about Eberron, but I've never run a campaign there because I wasn't actively DMing when it was in its prime. I talked a little bit about it with Rudy from Maze Arcana. Because he's like the Eberron guy for Wizards right now. But yeah,
except Wizards doesn't have an Eberron right now. So
no, I know, but
I think he's failing at the moment.
On the DL, I think they're slipping him like official material.
Yeah, a little bit here, a little bit there. Yeah, it's funny actually because I ask. I'm sorry. Because Eberron does what Galarian tried to do before Galarian tried to do it 1,000 times better. It literally is kitchen sink as well. Psionics are involved, undead are involved, everything's involved in such a beautiful and seamless way. And the reason why I bring it up is one, if Eberron was a person, I'd be married to it. And two, that's literally the campaign I just started on twitch.tv/DelricMaster. That's on Friday nights. That is an Eberron game, and I just started it last Friday, so we're doing session 2 this upcoming week, and I'm just like super excited because I haven't played Eberron in over a year, and I'm just like, I need Eberron.
I haven't run a campaign and I haven't played in the setting. I'm familiar with it, like in the sense that I read a bunch of stuff about it, and I was reading like Dungeon magazine when all the adventures are coming from it. I don't know because I don't know how much Dungeon magazine you're familiar with, but there's an adventure that was published for Eberron which I stole the villain from, and he became one of the primary antagonists in my Curse of the Crimson Throne game. That's about all the Eberron that I have. Victor Saint Domain.
Doesn't ring a bell.
I know he was from this tiny little adventure that was published in Dungeon, whatever, and I loved it so much. He was like a detective that failed in his job, and so he became a criminal, and he like released all these other criminals from prison to work for him, and it was a really cool little thing, and I stole that and I turned him into a Joker kind of character, but yeah, it's. Eberron is really cool. I wish I had time to do some gaming there, and Dark Sun 2 is one I've been really wanting to get involved in. I've never played a Dark Sun game, but I love it.
Oh man! I'm like, I'm gonna have to throw this word out here. I pity you. All the best worlds. Next thing you're gonna say is, oh, I've never really done Ravenloft either.
I played a little bit of Ravenloft when it came out. I never finished it. That's the thing. I was a kid, and we never finished Expedition to Castle Ravenloft.
That's funny. So, in my opinion,
Chimes at Midnight. Oh my God! Many-Sided Dice knows the adventure. Yes, Chimes at Midnight. Good catch, my friend. Good catch.
That's funny. I have a ton of. I stopped my Dungeon magazine subscription a long while back. I don't even remember what year it was. So I didn't get any of the later stuff well before fourth edition ever came out. So it's funny because I still every once in a while will leaf through it and find like, what's that person? What's that? And it's actually if you ever talk to Mathis, actually he may have even said this when he was on your show before. One of the things I can say about when Derek's the DM is be careful for halfling mayors. They're always bad guys. Well, the reason why that is because a lot of the older Dungeon magazines were stole a lot of my ideas from, much like how you're saying you did with this person right here. The halfling mayor was always a damn bad guy. It was always like, they're cute and small, but once you do it 8 times, it becomes a shtick. And so that literally is now a shtick that I'm known for, is because I stole so many of them. But yeah, so. I'm sorry, you were saying Dark Sun. So you've never played in a game or barely played in a game?
No, I've listened to I think the most Dark Sun I've ever experienced was the Acquisitions Incorporated Dark Sun podcast, and probably one other one. But no, I've never played a game. It's one of those ones that's on my list of things that I would like to do, but I will probably never get around to because, if I don't DM it, no one will.
So I get right. I know that feeling, buddy. So what I was gonna say, my problem with Dark Sun and sorry Wizards, but my problem with Dark Sun is D&D is not the right rule set for it. So D&D, no matter how gritty you try to make it, no matter what you try to do,
it's still too high power.
It's way too high power. I mean, when your character's like, I've got 95 health points. I took 83 arrows. They each did, 1 point of damage. I drank a healing potion. I'm still going. Like nothing hit me. I'm like, what? No fatigue, no slowdown, no nothing.
Yeah.
Dark Sun is such a beautiful setting, but it like needs to be done in like a GURPS or a modified
Torchbearer.
Yeah.
No, don't play Dark Sun and Torchbearer. No, don't do that. But I don't know. Do you know what Torchbearer is?
Rings a bell. No lie, but
it's like this.
Played.
Yeah, it's this ridiculously complex granular system that has like that is focused on like you legit have to tell
Stars Without Number, isn't that based off of Torchbearer's schools?
I don't know offhand. All I know is like Torchbearer is one of those games where you have to make sure your DM knows that you are drinking water.
Oh, okay. So you inspire another damn story. I'm a huge GURPS fan. I love GURPS for 1,000 reasons. A lot of people don't know this, but what's that game called? Fallout is actually based off of the GURPS system.
It is, yeah.
So, it was around the time that Fallout 1 was coming out, when us old people were playing them. When Fallout 1 was coming out, the Peter Jackson was going through a lot of like legal issues, and so they dropped GURPS as a name and changed the system slightly enough that it wasn't actually GURPS. So that being said,
that's why they came up with Special, yeah.
Yeah, so there's actually like I think it's fan-made, not actually made by Peter Jackson Games, but there's actually a fan-made Fallout game that you could play in GURPS, and I've run that before, and one of the rules that I just have to ignore is I don't care about your water consumption. I'm the douchey DM that plays with all encumbrance rules and stuff like that.
Really?
I don't care about your water I just don't. If you drink a radiated water, sure, but how many liters?
See, here's the thing that's funny to me. I run a lot of adventure modules, specifically a lot of Pathfinder adventure modules. Most of them I convert these days on like to 5th edition and other things. But I love those little details where like it gives it like random things that aren't rules, but it's just like when you're in a room, it's like, and if the player there's like a toilet in the room, and if the players drink from the toilet, they catch dysentery. Like I love those little bits in the rules that are just like
Yeah. It's like
I don't know.
Somebody took care.
There was oh my god, there was a I don't know if you've ever seen it. One of my favorite little YouTube productions is a tiny ass comedy show about D&D called Natural 20, and they did a whole lampoon episode on adventure modules, and like they were on this ship and they kept asking the DM like random details, like what's the name of the sleeping condition that the guard suffers from? When did he get it? And because all that information was in the module.
Oh, jeez, that's funny. That's good stuff. It's funny because you just made me think of asking something else, but I can't remember what it was. Oh, yeah. So what's your first game set? Was it D&D?
Like the first thing that introduced me to pen and paper role-playing games, or the first thing I really got into playing? Okay, so I was playing role-playing games long before I got introduced to pen and paper. I was introduced to role-playing games probably when I was about 9, when my dad gave me a copy of Ultima 4.
Nice.
So I got into role-playing games, and then after that, my friend showed me a catalog for Warhammer 40,000 when I was about 12, and I got heavy into that for a couple years. And then when I was 13, I was a counselor in training at a summer camp, and one of my friends just came up to me and he was like, "Here, let's do this thing." And I didn't know what it was. He just roped me and my brother into doing this, and we ended up playing a game of D20 Modern, and it was exactly what you expect 13-year-olds playing D20 Modern to be like.
That's funny. I legit have a copy of it right there.
I know, it's so bad.
Oh god, it is awful. It is like it is so awful. I mean, there were so many things.
We didn't know the difference at the time, but I don't even know if we were playing with the real rules, but it was exactly we were 13 years old.
It's like when Wizards tried to do Star Wars. The D20 version of Star Wars, and you're just like, what? Like somebody made a character completely legit, didn't bend or break any rules, where they could punch TIE fighters and they'll blow up. Like it was like, what? These rules are such garbage.
Yeah, no, D20 mod. We I think we ran around a compound killing people and taking their bling and G-Unit sneakers because we were 13 years old. It was like 2001. I don't even remember. So no, this actually was. I wanted to ask this because you reminded me of it. And I'm now trying to remember what it was. You said something and it made me think of it, but fuck, what was it? What were you talking about before?
Let's see. We were talking about Dark Sun, GURPS, Fallout, Peter Jackson games, legal issues, and then I asked you what your first gaming system was. And
It'll come back to me. I don't remember what it was, but it was, as my dad says, it probably wasn't important, even though it was probably the most important.
My mom always says it was probably a lie. Can't remember. It was probably a lie.
So where'd you start Where'd you start with your games?
So I mean, my first ever like RPG, if you're talking about like say video games, was Final Fantasy on old school Nintendo, like gray box Nintendo. My dad had it in his bedroom, connected to the TV in his bedroom. I'd play like Final Fantasy, the original one in America. Anyways, for my first tabletop, I was 7 years old, sitting on my dad's lap while he was playing GURPS with Master Steve from my martial arts place, who's one of my whatever. And so Master Steve and his girlfriends, my dad, my mom, and one of my uncles would sit around and they'd play GURPS. I would sit there and I get to like roll the dice for my dad because he was the game master. So I started at 7 years old rolling dice, and it very quickly like we would do whole family sessions together. Which was cool. So when I took over DMing, I was probably again like 13, 14. I started taking over DMing for the family about half the time, and it was cool because like we had this awesome setup where we would take like this huge what's it called, plywood board that was cut to be like squared on one side but almost like hex shaped on the other, and it was huge. It would go on top of our dining room table and make it even bigger. And then we had 1 inch by 1 inch square tablecloth that would go on top of that. Then this huge piece of plexiglass that would go on top of that. And then you could actually sit there and draw out things. It was before like game maps were easy to get your hands on, because we're talking back in like say 2000s, right?
Yeah.
So before it was easy to get your hands on those things. And when all gaming shops smelt really bad and the people that worked there looked like they just hated their lives, and they would kind of grumble at you if you asked them a question. Not nowadays, they're way better. But so we would do that, and I would run these like crazy campaigns with my family, and we would go like ridiculous periods of time. We played when Dungeons & Dragons 3rd edition came out. The day it came out, I think it was July 1st, 2000. I was on vacation in Old Orchard Beach, Maine, and my dad and I, it was pouring out. My dad and I went to the game shop the day that it came out, and we bought it, and we rushed home. We like read through the rules, and we threw it on the table. And we started playing, and literally that day it came out, and it was awesome. And that was actually when I transitioned from like GURPS White Wolf over to D&D as a full-time thing.
Yeah. So. Many-Sided Dice talking about their first game was Vampire. I have never played a Vampire, or I don't think any White Wolf game. I have been tangential to them for a long time, but I've never actually played them. Rose Artemis says, my first system was Call of Cthulhu. I have played in a Call of Cthulhu game. I still don't know how to play it.
Just kill the PCs or just die.
I was in a Call of Cthulhu campaign. I played at least 12 sessions of it. Like, it happened. I still don't know what I did or how I did any of it, because I couldn't tell you like what you rolled.
You went insane and or died. That's just,
I did not go. Actually, we survived right to the last session.
What?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. You had a very, very kind.
I know. It was it was not this. The game was not particularly deadly. And that's actually interesting, and I want to bring that up because this is something that has interested me quite a bit. Ever since I started running Writhing Moon, which is my horror campaign we play in the Open Legend system. I have never been, like, I joke about it a lot, but I've never been a killer DM, alright? Like, in fact, I find myself pulling punches in combat and stuff quite a bit, mostly because I really enjoy sessions that feel like a player could die at any time, but they are almost always completely safe, right? Mm-hmm. And so horror is really interesting because I've never found it particularly scary in Call of Cthulhu that your character can just die, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because it's like, it's a death state, right? Like,
well, it's two different styles of playing. So it's funny because I'm kind of like you. I have no problem with character death. I'll kill a character every day of the week if there's a story reason for it, or if the character or if the PC deserved it because of just too many acts of stupidity, right?
Yeah.
But like, you don't want a character to die just because a goblin happened to roll a 20 on there. Like, you're like, you know, but in Call of Cthulhu is comically the other direction. It's very hard to have that like in-depth like love for your character if you just know they're probably dead this session. You know what I mean? So
yeah, and also
mohawk. You know what I mean? So.
And also, it's interesting to me because one of the things is when I started running Writhing Moon is everyone was asking me what is it like Call of Cthulhu, and I'm like, I mean probably not really, because I actually want my players to see the end of the story, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, to me that's almost like I don't mind character death. I don't mind character death that is really dramatic. I don't mind characters getting crit to death. I like that. None of that bothers me. What bothers me more than anything, and this might be weird for me, I hate hand waving in new characters in the middle of a campaign.
Oh yeah, it's hard to like write it in there. Just like, here's a character. So I have to ask you, what do you do if you're running a stream and a random PC can't make it that week, and they're in the middle of a dungeon crawl or this or that?
That happens a lot, and usually what'll happen is I will just handle that PC and just have them do basic stuff. Sometimes another player might handle them, handle the PC. It really depends on the the group and the game. Sometimes usually I just tend to focus on the people that are there and like not really acknowledge the missing character.
So Mark syndrome.
Yeah, I suppose. Yeah, I get the reference.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Pretty much very similar to that. Mostly because to me, handling a character of a player who's not there is, it's a lot of extra work, especially on stream. That just slows things down and probably doesn't need to be done. Like I don't think anything's going to be lost if you just leave that character out of combat or something like that. But yeah, like nothing bothers me more than when you, especially in a campaign where you have this like a really intricate setup, like the players are all the chosen ones, and then like 5 episodes into the session you have another player join. It's like, okay, so we're the chosen ones, and you're that extra guy.
You read the prophecy wrong 6 times.
There's the chosen ones, and then this extra guy, and it's like. No, if I can, I would rather have I'd rather have the players who we started the stories with see the end of the stream, the end of the show, or the story, and I don't know, like I think I adjust my DM style to do that. Like I'm much more of a I do my horror and my threatening fights much more with like loud noises and like raw than actually like this monster rolls 20 dice.
Yeah. Well, I mean, what I can tell you is that if I have a player that can't make it, I hate playing characters, but I'll do it if I have to.
Mm-hmm.
When I was doing games before, nowadays for the stream, because obviously you have to handle the fact that either you're missing a cast member or you have a sub in of a cast member. Right?
Yeah.
All I can say is ask Strippin #PlotYeti. Okay, that's it. I'll leave it at that. #PlotYeti. That's how I solve my problems. But the I don't know, it can definitely be difficult when you're doing exactly that. You have this whole plot set up, and then it can be literally like every session has led up to this point. You're at this precipice of this amazing thing happening, and this one in particular character is going on vacation with a girlfriend for 2 weeks. Everybody else still wants to play.
Yeah,
and you're like, no.
Yeah, I've had a lot of sessions where it's like especially when we're in the middle. Like we had in Jade Regent, we had this whole setup. There was an elf that was there was a hag that was in the forest that they were gonna, like, this dude came to ask him to hunt down. And it turned out that the hag was spoilers for Jade Regent, but whatever. Mm-hmm. The hag was actually an elf, and technically she was actually the mother of one of the players, and the dude who was hunting the hag was actually this player's father. They had both, the elf had faked her own death to get away from this guy, and he's basically saying that she died to a hag, and he basically spent the rest of his life trying to hunt this hag that did not exist. Mm-hmm. And so the players go with this dude into the forest to hunt down this person. There's going to be this big revelation. They finally meet the elf, and she's not there that session.
Yeah. Oh, that's rough. Oh,
yeah.
Exactly that. It's funny. I'm just taking notes of things I want to bring up for the second hour of the show, because Many-Sided Dice keeps saying things, and I want to not forget to say back. So, anyways, it's exactly things like that where you just kind of have to like figure it out, make it happen, make sure that everybody's good to go, and the story is able to keep moving forward. So
yeah.
But anyways, so it kept getting brought up earlier about Thaco. Did you ever play D&D prior to 5th edition?
Oh yeah, oh yeah. I started D&D with 3.5, and then I started DMing in 4th edition, and then I played 4th edition for a while, and that was kind of dying. Like there was no one to run it for, basically. Which is weird because I still liked a lot of things that 4th edition did. I had Mike Merles on the show a while ago, and we were talking about like if there was anything that 4th edition did that he thinks worked well enough that they might kind of either continue on or be brought back in later editions. And I'm not going to get into his answer. You can watch the show for that. But the 5th edition was a very big departure from that. And so I like 5th edition, but before I actually got into it, I basically switched over to Pathfinder, and I was running Pathfinder for a while. And I still do. I don't run it on stream anymore, but I still run my home game as a Pathfinder game. And I am, because I am all 5th edition and Open Legend these days, I am very, very quickly forgetting, what's it called? I'm forgetting Pathfinder rules. Like, as I get onto my Friday session, and I'm like, spell resistance, how does that work again? And my players are happy to tell me, like, they know all the, because they don't play like 5th edition and stuff, so they're happy to remind me, and luckily none of them like give me shit for not remembering anymore. But yeah,
it's funny. I am known for, like, literally my shtick is I hate having to open up a book if I don't need to, so I memorize rules. So 5th edition I've played for less than a year now, so I've memorized almost everything in the PHB just because I like to have it on hand. I've got 3.5, some of the 3.0 rules that I kept in there because you modify everything. A lot of Pathfinder, like a lot of stuff just kind of like locked up in here. Just like I refuse to let it go because like, no, I need this for some reason. This is important. It was always this like moment of pride when you'd open up like a PHB to the exact page that you wanted it to be, like, the first try and like, I'm that good. Yeah, nerd points. I can feel the nerd bits raining in on me. You know what I mean? So but yeah, no. So you started with 3.5. That's funny. So you started after 2004 for Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah,
did
pretty
you ever
much.
Go back to the mangled garbage that was 3.0, or did you ever incorporate any old 3.0 books into your 3.5 games, which made it a mangled garbage?
First of all, thank you, Firebringer, for the 1 bit. Thank you for the penny, man. I will spend it wisely.
Yeah.
Also, as Will says, fuck you. I was one of those guys who, when I got into Pathfinder, I liked the content that Pathfinder had. Like, I didn't feel the need to incorporate 3.5 stuff. I had a lot of players asking if we could do, but it never seemed worth it to me. It was fine as it is. So I only played 3.5 or 3.0 and 3.5 for a very little while.
Really?
I was young, and we kind of went right into 4th edition at that point.
Gotcha.
But
4th edition came out in 2008. I remember because the day it came out, a friend of mine, another old friend of Mathis and mine, we got together that morning. We went to our gaming store. It's actually called Rivendell because we're nerds.
Yeah.
So we went to our favorite gaming store that's around here, and we waited outside the shop for it to open.
Oh God, you were at a midnight release for fucking 4th
it wasn't
edition?
midnight release. No, it was like 7 in the morning.
Yeah,
right?
no, I'm saying, but that was what we did. For like World of Warcraft and shit.
Exactly, yeah, for video games. So it's funny because the owner comes walking up. His name is Rob. He's like, "Oh, hey Keith, hey Scott," because nerds. And and he's like, "Oh, are you guys here?" We're like, "Oh, we both pre-ordered 4th edition, the complete set, the 3 books together in like a box set."
Yeah.
And he's like, "Okay, cool." So we went in, we bought them. We because you had to put it aside. We brought them home. We sat in silence for about I don't know, it was like an hour and a half or whatever it was, just reading our own copies of the books. We closed them down. And he was like, "What do you think?" I was like, "You first." He's like, I was like, "Dude, this is shit. This is garbage." So he convinced me to play a game, and I was like, "I'm not even going to run this." I did. He convinced me. I played in a campaign for like a few sessions. Then I ran a campaign for a few sessions, and I'm not even exaggerating. I never even broke the spines and the bindings on the book. The spines up. They're still inside their boxes.
Let me tell you though, and this is from this. Because I can again I've said this a lot, but I can perfectly admit the faults and stuff that 4th edition had. Mm-hmm. One of the most enjoyable instances, and you actually kind of asked if we could talk about it, and I've only briefly delved into the Yawning Portal Tomb of Horrors, right? Mm-hmm. Right away I can tell you, as soon as I looked at it, it's not as deadly as it used to be. The most enjoyable version of that dungeon that I ever played or ran was the 4th edition version.
Really?
Yeah.
Tomb of Horrors?
Oh yeah.
2nd edition.
I mean,
you
no,
did.
no. So obviously the original is great, and so, but I'm saying the only version I've run that isn't the original, that is in any way enjoyable to play is the 4th edition version, because the monsters are interesting and unique, and you don't have spells like detect secret doors and stuff like that. It actually because of the way powers and rituals and stuff work and magic items work, it actually makes going through it and what you take in and how you use it an investment rather than fucking Vancian casting every spell in the universe. And it actually, so there's a lot of, and you have the minions, things that you can there's challenge there, which is why it remains if I had people to play it, I'd probably still run that 4th edition version.
Here's the question though: is it survivable?
Yes, I've had people get slaughtered mercilessly. I've had people survive to the end. It really depends on the group and how they, just how well they happen to come in and synergize. And it also depends on how nasty the DM wants to be. Obviously, so my version that I wrote tunes up a few things to be about on par where with the original version, and some of those fights got nasty, man. Some of those fights got tough, but I have had people beat them, and that's sort of how I play tested it.
So do you know the history behind Tomb of Horrors and why Gary Gygax wrote that?
Yeah, no, I've discussed this with a few people. To my, and again, I'm not Wikipediaing or anything, so I may be wrong in some details. But to my knowledge, it was originally designed for the players in his own game because they were running roughshod over his world, and then after that, it just became a convention module.
So one of the reasons why 2nd edition was so amazing from a consumer standpoint, and this was less so for me because I'm too young for that, is that they were very, very much involved with the community. All the people that were a part of it, they would read fan letters, they would meet with people. They're very much involved with the community. But then the community was completely cut out for the next few editions, which is annoying. Which is why you had 4th edition was made cutting out Paizo and anything that any input that we had given, they pretty much ignored. They would always do this closed group tests of everything. It wasn't until 5th edition that they finally pulled their heads out their ass, and they have wonderful people like Greg Tito and whatnot, and Mike Merles, that communicate consistently through Twitter and stuff like that, and they're entrenched in the community to really get our opinions and improve the game based on what we want, right? So back then, he always heard stories about everybody bragging about how their characters would just outlive everything.
Yeah, basically, yeah.
It was everybody's characters just amazing gods, and he's like, no, we need to fix this. And so he came up with a dungeon to murder everybody, and it effectively did. And he was like, that's right, remember. He's like, respect your DM, respect the story. And it was cool because back in the day, before the interwebs allowed us all to know every spoiler there was before it even gets released, do leaks or whatever, then you could really punish your PCs. But nowadays, before Yawning Portal even came out, we all saw little clippets of it. Before you even go out and buy it, you can find PDFs of it. If a player realizes that you're running off of the Apocalypse book, they're gonna buy it or whatever themselves. They already know instantly. So it kind of changes the way that you have to DM stuff. But I mean, it was oh god, it was unforgiving. Let's just say that it was unforgiving. And you ran that if you wanted to really challenge your players. Only times I ever really ran it though, just because I try not to be a douche, was either one, let's do some high level one shot because long one shot because it's fun. Or two, let's do alternate universe versions of characters because oh, we all love this campaign, we're having fun. I wonder how we would do. Okay, this does not take place in the existing timeline. We're just gonna have maybe Bob couldn't show up for the session or whatever, or Susie couldn't make it. So let's just do it without that one person and run this and watch everybody die and how, It's a lot of fun.
I get no, you're right on the money there. Many Sided Dice says you met Greg Tito. Yeah, Greg Tito is he's a good friend. He's my guy at Wizards basically.
Oh really? I met him. He was a pretty nice guy. I met him and Katie something, who is like not directly for Wizards. She handles PR for Wizards. They're good people. I met him over at PAX East.
I don't know Katie offhand. No, Greg is my guy at Wizards. He's been on the show before.
Cool.
I love his podcast, and he's
his
just
stuff. He knows his stuff.
He does, yeah, and yeah, he runs the official Dragon Talk podcast with like all kinds of people, and he's just a lot of fun. I said he refuses to hook me up with Chris Perkins though. That's the only thing. No matter how many times I ask, he refuses to hook me up.
I told him if he sat at my table, I wouldn't be nice to him. So
who Chris?
Greg.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I was like, if you sit at my table, don't think you get any special perks. Goblins are gonna shoot at you too. So no, he was a really nice guy. Mathis and I got to meet up with him and chat with him for a little while and whatnot. So it's pretty cool. Actually, I have like some cool dice and stuff that he had given me, which is awesome. So
oh yeah, you got the D&D dice too. He's actually I don't have anything directly. I'm waiting on a package from him. He's literally the guy that supplies all our giveaway stuff directly from Wizards, cool. Which is awesome. PAX was the weirdest thing. Like I was hanging out with Greg. Were you at the Acquisitions Incorporated show?
What was that?
Were you at the Acquisitions Incorporated show?
I was not. If you're talking about panels over at PAX East, it was literally my first ever convention, and I literally was like this.
It was my first PAX East. You didn't get to the live game with the Penny Arcade guys and that stuff.
Nope.
Man.
Just kind of I walked around and soaked in the ambiance. It was again a very I've been to tons of concerts because of like who my mom is. Yeah, but I've been to tons of concerts, but this is different. This isn't like we're all sardines watching like a show and what. No, this is different. It was like different.
See, I'm a veteran of New York City Comic Con for many years, so PAX East is I'm used to it by now. But it was just so different because I've never been to like an all gaming convention, especially one with such a huge Twitch presence. There's so many of my Twitch streamer friends that I'm just like, hey, I got to hang out with. But I was at the Acquisitions Incorporated show, which is the Penny Arcade guys, Morgan Webb and Chris Straub, DM'd by Chris Perkins. And they're having their game up on stage, right? And we're in this big stadium. This is a really dumb story, but I like it anyway. We're in this big stadium, and I'm watching the show. The show ends, and everyone starts getting up and filing out. And if you're at a concert, right, what do you do when the show ends?
Oh, you leave before it ends, or you wait till everybody leaves?
No, you get up and you go into the front row to talk to the to get the shit that they're handing out or say hi to them. So I just walked up to the front. I'm walking past them. We're like, where's everyone going? The dudes that you came to see are right there. And so I walked up to the front row, and everyone exited the convention hall, and it was just me, Greg Tito, Chris Perkins, the two Penny Arcade guys, Jerry and Mike. Mm-hmm. And then Zach from Hyper RPG and a couple other people. They're just sitting there, like standing around in front of the stage talking. And I'm just sitting there like, this is awesome.
Yeah. Can I be your friend?
Here's my business card.
Yeah, exactly.
I actually, it was so weird. I handed Zach my business card. He's like, oh yeah, you're Exploding Dice, right? And I'm like, yes.
Yeah.
No, I love Zach. Zach's awesome. But yeah, if you haven't gotten to one of the gaming conventions, if you guys are in the New England area, highly suggest you get out to PAX Unplugged, because that's gonna be amazing. Thank you, Many Sided Dice, for the 100 bits. Thank you, man. Ooh, yeah. I don't have a wait. I have a beer. Beers for cheers. Beers for cheers, guys.
I got scotch. That's one of the things I wanted to bring up that you mentioned.
That'll do.
Scotch for that.
Oh man, if you guys are in chat, that's what we do here. We do ED cheer, and then Dice Thulu will raise his beer for you. Yeah. Thank you, my friend.
Well, that's 16-year single malt. So that was woo.
Is it wait? You wanted to bring up the scotch in particular?
Yeah. Well, it was funny because he had said that he only did scotch once beforehand, so on and so forth. And I was like, that's funny because I usually drink scotch every stream. So every time I DM, I like to have a drink while I'm DMing. And so I always have literally right here a bottle of scotch, whether it be like Balvenie 12 year or what is it? I always have a hard time pronouncing this one. Lagavulin 16 year or whatever it is. So I always have a bottle of scotch so I can have it. I gotta relax a little.
I don't do well with hard liquor. I mean, I can drink, but I don't do well like in if I have a small amount of it and I'm not like doing shots, I end up forgetting that it's there. And it's just like I have a cup of scotch just sitting on my desk for like a week.
I love that you say cup of scotch. It's like
a glass, whatever.
No. When you describe cup of scotch, I'm sitting there thinking like, is this like an 8-ounce pour?
Like a man.
Like I mean business. Cup of scotch. Oh man, that's awesome.
So I guess we're kind of rolling over about 9 o'clock. I guess we'll dive into the Q&A part of the show. If you guys have never been here, first of all, if you guys are just hanging out, thank you for joining us. You are hanging out with us watching Fuzzy Dice. You can see it's right above me, the Dungeon Master Show, which is of course your Dungeon Master Show here on Exploding Dice. And today I am hanging out with Mr. Scott Davis, talking D&D stuff and also Scotch. Which is, really the best topics. So let me just get in chat, ! Fuzzy. What we like to do is we like to take your topics and questions, anything you guys want to ask us, anything you want us to talk about. Make sure you just tag @Exploding Dice or like write question in big letters so I see it, or so it notifies me. And then we will definitely try and get to it. I will give you guys a minute or so to do that. Firebringer says remembers the birthday stream. Yeah, that was a bad time. We don't really talk about that too much. That was a dark time.
All right, I have to before I bring up the thing I was gonna say. I have to ask. What was the birthday stream?
So this past February was I was celebrating my birthday and the channel's birthday at the same time, and nice. So I was
this
like.
Was when?
This I don't remember the exact day, but it was in February.
Okay, so it was a few weeks ago.
Yeah,
months ago.
Couple months ago, yeah. Thank you. I'm very old. And so what?
Very old. I probably get you beat.
2 years.
By 2 years?
Yeah.
So you're not even 30 yet?
No, not yet.
Okay. So I sorry. It showed me for a second. So literally, I turned 30. A year ago. The day before my birthday, I had to have 3 wisdom teeth pulled because I never had them pulled. And I was like, my teeth are all great or whatever, but the wisdom teeth were kind of coming in funny, and eventually they convinced me to do it. The day before I turned 30. So you're supposed to love your birthday? Oh. Awesome. I'm sorry. So go ahead. Birthday stream.
No. So what happened was I was celebrating them together, and I told everyone, I'm like, let's get together, let's have a party, let's just have it. And I didn't really know what to do. I thought we're definitely going to do some drinking on stream. So I just decided to put in a window on OBS. I decided to put $2 shots. Every $2 donation, I will do a shot. And I did not anticipate that my friends would roll in and donate a whole bunch of money. And so I did I think I did somewhere in the realm of 18 shots that night.
That is.
I didn't even get to do all of them. They came in and they dropped dollars, and I got really drunk, and my friends came in and we played Blood and Bacon, which is a game where you shoot pigs, and it was a bad time. And then my friend Hitch rolled in I've been doing this for 6 hours now, right? Very, very drunk, and he just rolls in and drops $20, and I'm like, well, I'm out of vodka because I've been doing vodka all night. Let me just grab this this bourbon, and I pour a glass, and when you take a drink and as soon as it touches your lips, your body's like, nope. That's what happened, and that's the stream had to end there.
Yep. It's literally as soon as you touch the drink, your stomach just completely flips.
It's just
nope,
done.
Do it anyways,
yeah,
okay?
No. It's this is not happening. Oh man, hold on, my internet is spazzing
awesome.
out. All right, there we're good.
No,
we're
that's
good.
fine. So while you're fixing that, so one of the other things that tolerance, that's how I'm gonna phrase it. So prior to being on a stream where it's different because again, everything is a little different here and there. For instance, I met most of the people that are on my shows as we're making characters or whatever the case may be. So these aren't like, oh, I've been friends with you for 8 or 9 years, I can be a complete douchebag to you. They're like, oh, I just met you, I can only kind of be a douchebag to you.
Mm-hmm.
So the way I always say that the way I run my D&D campaign IRL is I run them like Belichick. You know what I mean? You don't show up for practice, you don't play the game. So there are 52 weeks in here. I assume that we're playing 45 sessions over the course of those 52 weeks. Because
yeah. Thank you.
So you're welcome. So I assume we're playing 45 sessions of those 52 weeks. I assume you personally are playing 40 sessions. If you can't give me 40 sessions a year, you can go somewhere else. Find a different campaign, find a different group. I don't like people not showing up. I don't like it being you being there inconsistently and stuff like that.